Welcome to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. This is where we blur the lines between business, nonprofit, and impact. I'm your host, Wendie V, and in season 3, we're redefining success for social entrepreneurs looking to grow their revenue. If you have reality-changing ideas, this is the place for you. Let's jump right into today's episode. What happens when you lose your job, and how do you recover? How do you stay motivated to do something new, or to do something that can have an even better outcome than you could have ever imagined? I'm here today to tell you my story, and as you can hear my voice, it's a very emotional tale. There are a lot of people who have lost their job, and if you are listening to this episode and this is your journey, believe me, there are a lot of other people who've had this journey too, including myself, and a lot of people that I know. More and more, you're seeing that people are actually being open when they lose their job and telling other people what it's like, or telling people what they're doing after. And some people don't. Some people choose to keep it secret or choose to not be open about their job loss status because they're ashamed, or they feel guilty, or they feel betrayed. There's a lot of emotions that happen when you lose your job. There's a lot of fear. Maybe there's regret, or there's a lack of understanding or clarity about exactly what happened or why. And sometimes job loss can seem arbitrary. It can seem like something that just came out of the blue. So today, that's what we're talking about on the podcast. This is the Social Impact Level Up podcast. I'm your host, Wendie Veloz, also known as Wendie V. And we're going to jump right into the conversation about how do you stay motivated, and how do you choose entrepreneurship? If this is the journey for you, then how do you choose entrepreneurship as a method of staying motivated after you've lost your job? There's a very simple way that you can use entrepreneurship to keep yourself going, and I wanted to share that in this episode. So we're going to jump right into the story of my own journey. That way you guys know where I'm coming from in this conversation, but also so that you can learn through exactly what I was able to do to build my business and to build my clients as someone who is still healing through the process of losing their job. Now, anyone who has had to make a transition, or has changed, or has gone through a different chapter in your life and suddenly had the page flipped for them, naturally you think, oh, I'm not sure about myself. I'm not sure about my skills. I'm not sure about what I offer. Or I'm not even sure how I contribute to society in general. There's a lot of questions that go through your head. You might start to feel like you're not an expert in your field, although you have years of expertise. Or you might feel like there's something that is missing in your life, but you're not exactly sure how to get it because you feel this sense of loss for the job that you just lost. You might also feel relief, right? Maybe you worked for, like I did, a system that no longer served you, one that actually was harmful to you and others. And maybe you worked for multiple systems like I did, who just don't value your work or value you as the high performer or leader that you are. So if you come to this podcast and you're listening to this particular episode and you're wondering, wow, I never thought about all these things. If you've not lost your job, still continue to listen. I'm sure there'll be something for you here. Are you tired of investing in courses that you don't finish? Wondering where to get on-demand professional development to grow an impact organization? I just made your search so much easier. Head to my online store, learngrowthrive.wendieveloz.com. This is where you can access our learning paths, a curated set of on-demand resources for grant writing, social business, holistic business, and nonprofit growth. If you're curious what's inside each learning path, explore them now at learngrowthrive.wendieveloz.com. So, the first part I want to tell you about my journey is that I was in a C-suite public health director role, and I was not the director of the agency, I was the director of the Office of Policy and Planning. And having worked my way up from being a macro level social worker in the federal government to working in a local government job, this was actually a status promotion for me to have taken this job. I moved across the country. I wrote all about the day that I lost that job in this book called Sister Armor, which you can pick up on Amazon or anywhere. I think online there's a couple different places if you Google it. But this is where I tell you exactly what happened the day that I lost my job. Now, before that, though, it was about the things that I did before I actually stepped into the door of taking that job in the first place. I had spent years investing in myself and my own professional development. I already understood my role as a leader. I already had experience leading teams in the middle of organizations, but I wasn't able to excel to the top of an organization. And especially because my career in the federal government had suddenly and abruptly been changed for me during the previous administration. Now, this is something that I think people don't understand about my journey. My decision not to go back to a government job or not to go back to working in a system and being paid by someone else was very much a decision of my own healing. Because I understood at that point when I lost my job that for the previous 15 years, I had been serving someone else's mission on someone else's terms. And what that meant was my health and my mental health had suffered for multiple years. And I wasn't able to make choices for myself that led to my own health and well-being, and that led to my own happiness and joy. I couldn't take vacations when I wanted. I had to be available for coverage. I couldn't make decisions as I was recommending because they weren't in line with someone's ideals. I was constantly producing and being asked to produce, being triple booked, being asked to work hours that just weren't humanly possible. So over the course of my career for the past 15 years, I had chosen to give myself and my energy to someone else's terms. When I lost my job, what was suddenly different was that I was free to make choices, and I was able to then harness that energy and harness my good work and my talent and my skills and all of the knowledge that I gained through that process into what I really want. And that process can seem really big, it can seem really scary, and it can be something that if you've always worked for someone else, you've never gone through this kind of catharsis before. Just complete, either melting down or building up, letting go and releasing, and then, of course, absorbing at the same time, right? So there's a lot of different types of changes that happen when you choose yourself after having been in a very toxic or destructive or even just unsupportive environment. And a lot of social impact organizations have different issues, but they do struggle with retention, and they do struggle with really appreciating and valuing the people who work within them. So even if you haven't lost your job, you might have experienced some of these things before, which have made you think, is it better to go out on my own? Is it better to choose to do this work in a way that I value with my own value set and with my own knowledge on my own? And now that risk can be really scary because turning to entrepreneurship means that you're not getting a steady paycheck. You have to take off whatever golden handcuffs you may have, or even just whatever pay you're kind of at, which might not even be enough of what you want, need, or deserve to be the thriving person that you want to be. So if you're not able to free yourself from the ideals of how money works and getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, entrepreneurship is very, very scary, and it can be very difficult. At the same time, if you can transform your thought process around money and energy, which we talk about all over episodes of this podcast, then you're able to really move past that initial fear and understand that there's other benefits to choosing entrepreneurship. Now, after job loss, it can be really foggy and messy, and it could seem like I'm not entirely sure that any of this is for me. Can I just go and lay in a blanket and put my head down? I would say it's better to make steady progress and to anticipate that tomorrow is going to bring a new challenge and a new day and a new thing for you to learn or something for you to grow into. Because as you do the work as an entrepreneur, over and over again, you do some of the same tasks and you become better at them. And sometimes days are completely new and completely different than as you thought when you woke up. You might have a team one day. You might be paying multiple people one day. You might forget that you're now the employer and it's you who has to create the environment that you wanted to see when you were the employee. You might also have to go back and freelance or stop working for yourself for a bit so that you can take a W-2 job and have steady income again. Moving back and forth between entrepreneurship and
working a 9 to 5 or a W-2 or a corporate job, whatever you want to call it, that's something that a lot of people experience over the course of their time exploring entrepreneurship. So there's no linear path. Whatever path you decide and choose is really your own path, and it's up to you to make the best out of it. Now, in my journey, as I said before, we'll recount back to the Sister Armor book. Where this book leaves off is the moment that I walked out of the door and chose myself and my business versus working for someone else's mission, someone else's terms. When I did that, I had the luxury of having a safety net. I had already invested $7,000 in a coach. That meant that when I walked out of the door and said, I just lost my job, one of the first people that I called was my coach. I already had a support system. I had someone who believed in me. I had the most amazing marketing education in 3 months, 6 months, just learning and learning and learning all of the things that I needed, all of the skills that I needed to be a successful entrepreneur. As I kept growing, I kept learning and learning from other people, from other entrepreneurs, brought on new coaches, learned sales, moved my business in different ways from consulting to full-time working on coaching. There's a lot of things that I had to do over the journey that were decisions and instincts that I had to follow after that first decision to believe in myself. And I think you can do this too. If you don't first believe in yourself and believe in your vision and even understand what your vision is, it becomes really difficult for you to choose yourself. But once you start believing in your vision and once you start understanding that you are really here to share something with others, then you'll see the path unfold and unfold in new ways that you hadn't been able to see before. Because before, you weren't looking for these opportunities, or before, you weren't open to these opportunities because you were too busy thinking you needed to get another job, or you needed to apply to more jobs, or you needed to go on more interviews, or you needed to suffer through interviews that really weren't for jobs that you didn't have any business taking anyway. So believe me, I've been there. And what I did was I called my coach and I said, I'm not going to look for a job. What do I do? What do I do with my day? How do I structure my time? How do I start telling people that I'm no longer here for you to just ask questions? I'm here for you to hire to ask questions because my brain is what you're hiring. My process is what you're buying. My services and my time are my commodity that I'm selling as a business. And that's a restructuring of how you talk to people, how you think about yourself, and how you market yourself as a personal or professional brand. So all of these changes happen simultaneously while you're mulling over the fact that you still lost your job. And the motivation that you get is the triumphant moments when you see yourself transform, where you're successfully able to introduce yourself and your business to colleagues, where you're able to post something online that celebrates your 1 year of success in business, where you're able to talk to someone and in 30 seconds articulate exactly what kind of value you bring. These are moments of triumph that wouldn't have maybe been available if you had kept deciding to apply to jobs and spending your time in that way. So if you were choosing entrepreneurship, then you really want to think about what is it that you're really good at? And how can those things bring you closer to your vision of happiness and thriving? And is that really what you want? Or is that something that you've settled for or decided? Is there something even bigger that you can imagine? And what are the steps to get there? As you work through those steps every single day, the motivation does intrinsically have to come from inside of you, but you can also find external sources of motivation as well. Working outside or working outside of your home if you're always at your house now because it's now your office and your home. Or making sure that you have social connections with other business owners and spend part of your time learning and growing in collective and in community. You might also need to get used to the fact that you're making your own paycheck every time you make profit. So that is something that you have to calculate for in your own expenses and how you run your life. It's taken a really long time to learn all these things. But as I have people who I know who are going through this process, even right now, it's a very long road. And you have to have the fortitude and the belief in yourself and in your vision to make sure that you keep going down that road. as I've approached about 3.5 years in business now, I find myself revamping my daily routines and thinking about, how do I spend my time? How does my time best build my business and build my team? How can I bring joy to my life, even with the things that are now in my schedule? I have new responsibilities. I'm now on a nonprofit board. I have new clients that I have to onboard. How do I create the processes and the space in my life to do those things and also go paddleboarding on a Thursday morning if I feel like it? There's a lot of things in my life that have brought me joy over the last 3 years, and there's also been a lot of worry. I can't tell you that this journey has been completely without any kind of stress or thinking about, all of the money trauma that I had to unpack and let go of in order to go on this journey. I had to have a lot of trust and faith in people, and I had to learn some really hard lessons. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. I can definitely tell you that. But if you are choosing yourself and you're choosing to continue to serve in the way that you want to serve, in a way that's going to align with your values and be on your terms, then the only thing I can offer to you is that there is success and you can find sustainable success, but you have to first believe in yourself. So here is the rest of the formula that I would give you if you were my coaching client. After figuring out your vision, after figuring out that you believe in yourself and that you have celebrated some success, keep going with developing your services. Keep going with understanding what it is that you actually sell by making sure that it aligns with the way that you want to spend your time and what brings you joy in your life. That's the next step in the journey, because it's going to be a continual process where you'll have to evaluate exactly what you want in life and how you're going to bring not only the things that you want, but also cover the responsibilities that you've somehow accumulated in this lifetime. I'm always excited to see new clients go through this process and people to understand that as you are moving through your own personal journey, there's so much healing that can happen, even within the professional space. So if you are going through this right now, or you have gone through job loss in the past, make sure that you're taking the time to find the healing, finding the ways that you can become whole again, finding the things that you now have space to do and not working yourself to the bone. Because as you keep working and keep working, yes, you will make progress and you will make steady progress. I absolutely did. But one thing I've learned is that you can burn yourself out faster working for yourself than working for someone else. So if you need to, make sure that you take a nap, that you give yourself space to go and lay in a hammock, that you have a run in the morning if you want to take a run in the morning. Or like I said, go work and have a coffee in a quiet cafe and enjoy the day, people watching. Even if it doesn't help you focus, it's going to help you with your social connections and bringing value to your life in the form of giving your brain a rest. There's so many things out there that can bring you joy as an entrepreneur. And I want to make sure that you don't overwork yourself and you find the time to find the joy. Thank you for coming to this episode. This is my heartfelt talk on what do you do if you need motivation after you have lost your job. It's something that I completely believe in 100%. I can say that as a journey, as a former person who's lost their job, now turned entrepreneur, there's so many things that I value in the accomplishments that I've been able to make. Helping other businesses grow, helping nonprofits become sustainable, looking at new funding for different organizations and helping them believe that they can achieve it. I've been able to accomplish so much, including this podcast, almost 90-ish episodes to date, where I've been able to interview some of the most amazing social entrepreneurs and bring some inspirational stories to light. These are all things that I probably would never have done if I had continued to work for someone else on their terms for their mission. So thank you for being here for this episode. I wish you well in your journey, and come back for another episode of the Social Impact Level Up podcast.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to having you come back. If you're curious about something we shared, make sure you check in the show notes below. And do you want the secret to make your nonprofit or business more sustainable and more profitable? Hop into my Learn, Grow, Thrive University, where I give you exclusive access to resources, mini courses, and templates for free. All you need to do is sign up at wendieveloz.com/university. See you next episode.